Alright everyone, and especially gamers, it seems pretty appropriate for this movie review, and that is for... Yeah, that's right. The new version, which is a reboot of the 1995 version, which I did enjoy for some aspects. Yeah, it was a bit campy, it was a bit cheesy, but it's enjoyable for what it is. Good cheesy fighting and everything. Even though, of course, the biggest flaw was it was PG-13 rated. Why couldn't it be R rated? You know, and of course it got a sequel, which totally sucked, so all other sequels that were planned for that version of the franchise were pretty much thrown out the door because it sucked ass. So with that said, obviously a reboot was on the horizon, and here we go. First of all, yes, this is R-rated. So that answers your question right there. For all of you who complained about the PG-13 rating, no more of this wimping out with PG-13 rating nonsense, because yeah, I definitely agree. Based off the bloodiest fighting game franchise of all time. I mean, this is the fighting game franchise, or basically the video game franchise in general, that started the whole rating system for video games that's pretty much applied to everything nowadays, with every bloody fighting game and shooting game and Grand Theft Auto game, you know. So, yeah, this is the bad boy culprit that started it all, pretty much. Or at least one of them, per se. And enough of that, how's the movie hold up? Well, it's with the help of James Wan as the producer and a newcomer director. I was a bit skeptical, so I had neutral expectations on this one. And to answer your questions, yes, this is once again a hybrid release, so it is released on HBO Max for any of you subscribers, or basically you can just go for the free trial. You know, that gives you, I think, a week or so. And this, like I said, with the Godzilla vs. Kong review, this would be the perfect time as ever to go for it, the free trial, because you got that, you got the Justice League Snyder Cut, which is great, and I already talked about it, and you got this. So, how does this hold up? Well, with my expectations, I could safely say it was good. For some parts. It was decent, per se. Now, let's talk about the story. It doesn't really have a heavy-duty story, and you've kind of seen it done before, and the one things I will compliment, and some things I will nitpick, and, well, rather cons of the movie I will talk about, but I will get into spoiler territory. First of all, the plot is more or less a revenge plot, and involves killing and blood, and lots of it in this film. So, keep in mind, minor to moderate spoilers, and, well, yeah, that's all it basically gets down to. You got your main characters in here that you are familiar with, but not every single one of them, and I could sort of see why, because they don't want to throw too much in here. That's a good thing, you know, you want to basically develop your characters, which they sort of do a decent job with, you know. You got Sonya Blade, you got Jax, you got Kano, and of course they meet up with Kung Lao, Liu Kang, Raiden, and of course the main villain in the movie, that's basically the big main antagonist, is not Shao Kahn, but instead it's Sub-Zero. Yeah, he's basically the one that does all the killings that they're trying to get revenge against, and he sets off all the, well, not all the villains, but a good majority of them. Some of them are not really in the original games. You know, I expected Baraka or Katana. You got Melina in there, and she doesn't have her mask on. You know, the mask not to be COVID related or anything like that, which I do find funny. But, yeah, you obviously know that she's basically, her mouth is supposed to look like the same species as Baraka, but he's not in this movie. But you do get Goro and Shang Tsung. So, yeah, there might be a few pieces missing that may leave a little to be desired in this, but the fight scenes are really good. Now, first of all, yes, the main character that it focuses mostly on is, well, not a Mortal Kombat character you're familiar with. Instead, he's just, well, some kind of blandish named character who just happens to join in with the Mortal Kombat gang, and alongside him you got Kano, who makes an appearance, and the one fight scene at the beginning of the movie where he fights, well, Reptile, who you see for a brief period, and, well, he's not really in, you know, he's not the Reptile that you're familiar with from the original Mortal Kombat games. He's, well, a reptile, and he camouflages and turns invisible. A cool fatality right there. So now I'm getting into spoiler territory, so if you don't want spoilers, turn the video off right now. Otherwise, yeah. He takes out Reptile with a cool trademark fatality that you're probably familiar with, the Heart Rip, and that's kind of the only trademark thing that most of you gamers have played the Mortal Kombat games may find familiar in this movie. It's a nice little added tribute, but to me he feels like a bit of a wise guy character. You know, he's that kind of person who throws a lot of wisecracks, and it's funny at some parts, but after a while it gets a little annoying, and he basically tries to be the comedy relief of this film, but I think he goes a little too far. The training montage scene is okay, it's not bad. Some of the developments on some things that just happen, the way our main character just gets his powers, and I don't know, I feel like there's not much explanation for it. And of course Jax, I like how they show how he loses his arms and gets the robotic ones, and the robotic ones are not great at first, they don't seem to work, and then all of a sudden they just become, boom, powerful as hell. I mean, I don't understand that really. It does not, again, there's not much explanation behind that, it just happens. And especially the scene where our main character is fighting Goro, and he just happens to get the powers like I just said before. Like, what the hell is up with that? It's a cool fight scene, don't get me wrong. And another thing you might find interesting is that he's a son of a main character that you might be familiar with in this franchise. He makes an appearance, and I'm not going to go that far to say, spoiler-wise, but the ending scene is pretty cool. It goes pretty far with the blood and everything, and like I said, you know, the ending climax is pretty good, but the movie in general may leave a little to be desired, but that's to be expected out of a movie based off a fighting game franchise, or any video game franchise for that matter. You can't have high expectations for these kind of movies. I think it's just good, cheesy, fun time, and with this time, unlike the original 95 version, they added the blood. But some of the blood, I think, felt a little cartoonish at some parts, like with Kung Lao with his hat, you know, he grinds one of the characters through like a buzzsaw, and I don't know, it didn't really like, ew, disgust me. I felt it was a little bit silly looking. And then especially when the guy takes out Goro, again, it just felt a little cartoony for some parts of it. So, yeah, a cool ending, cool fight scenes, but again, don't have high expectations for this one. It's not a masterpiece, but if you like Mortal Kombat and you like the original, like I said, you might enjoy this one. I will say, aside from the cool fight scenes and some of the, amount of F-bombs being dropped, one thing I will compliment that's you definitely love if you love the original soundtrack, yes, that kick-ass song is back at the end credits. And even the end credits design are pretty cool. It seems like movies nowadays, especially the comic book movies, are getting really cool and creative with the end credit designs. And yes, as I said, that kick-ass song is in here. I mean, great job right there. I mean, that's a nice added touch. And of course, it hints a sequel, which, depending on how well this does at the box office, I don't know exactly if many people are going to go to see it. I didn't go to see it. I watched it on HBO Max once again. Again, I'm not 100% with going to the movies just yet, but, well, all I could say is if you do go, stay safe, do whatever to keep yourself from getting sick and so forth, but otherwise, just have a good time. Don't expect anything great. Don't expect the Best Picture winner at the Oscars. Just expect a good, fun, bloody, good time. It's based off a fighting game franchise again. What more do you expect? So, yeah, and I just hope with the sequel that they don't screw it up if they go forward with it. You know, if they keep on this path, it's got a pretty decent future. You know, again, I'm just hoping it doesn't end up like Annihilation did, with throwing too many characters in there and with no time to develop and some really bad acting, which this movie had a few scenes which were questionable, like I said, but again, you have to expect it. So, anyway, my final verdict on it is, well, just a plain 2 ear modes up. I know it sounds a little harsh, but I enjoyed it for what it is. Good fun, bloody time. So, till next time, keep watching.